presentation on illegal wildlife traffic in a regional perspective, right? So we'll play that now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to give this presentation. My name is Kurt Duche. I'm a veterinarian. I'm a wildlife veterinarian. I'm based in Guatemala City, and I'm the counter wildlife trafficking officer for the Wildlife Conservation Society in Mesoamerica. And I oversee projects to counter wildlife trafficking and to support the government of Mesoamerica to counter wildlife trafficking from southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. We're starting some projects in Costa Rica. I'm very glad to brief America what we have evidence of and what we have been seeing for the past 3 or 4 years. Maybe you're aware of this information, but it's always good to share information with colleagues. So where the question of everybody is where the wildlife comes from. The wildlife that's being sold in Mesoamerica, that's being illegally trafficked in Mesoamerica, comes from the forest, mostly comes from the forest. And we have 5 forests left in Mesoamerica. The Selva Maya in Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala. This is the largest forest north of the Amazon in the world. Then we have Mosquitia in Honduras, Nicaragua, Tortuguero in Costa Rica and Panama, La Amistad, and the Darien. That's the last big forest of Mesoamerica. And the wildlife is being extracted from this forest and sold in the cities. All these forests are being targeted by the traffickers and being not just sold in local markets, but being locally exported. There are animals being collected in Guatemala that's being sold in Honduras, animals collected in Honduras being sold in Mexico, and animals being collected in Belize being sold in Guatemala, and also found in El Salvador. So we are sharing illegal trade. It's a very bad thing. And this is something that should not be only addressed by local enforcement or by local organizations, by local governments, but should be addressed in a holistic, in a regional, in a Mesoamerican way, because the problem is affecting us all as a region. And this red arrows just to show that our wildlife is not staying in Mesoamerica. Our wildlife is being exported to the rest of the world, to the Caribbean islands, to North America, Mexico, and the United States, also Canada. We have Europe and we have Asia. We have always known that Asia is one of the biggest markets for our wildlife. The list, let's not focus on the graphic in the top, just in the animals. These are the most trafficked animals in Guatemala in a period of like 10 or more years. That birds, parrots, chickens, truffets, scarlet macaws, then the mammals, fire monkeys, howler monkeys. There are also, this is just for live animals. We have the reptiles, freshwater turtles, not including the hicati here, just smaller freshwater turtles that are being sold for pets, iguanas, crocodiles, and snakes. But in this graphic, we cannot see other species that are being traded locally, like small lizards, the Abronia genus, and other small animals that are not usually confiscated by police in control posts, because these are animals so small that can be smuggled very easily. So in the first place, I would say in whole Mesoamerica is the parrots. These are the parrots you come on seeing being trafficked. The right lower species, the Amazona oratrix, is not common in the rest of Mesoamerica. It might be common in Belize, but it's not common in the rest of Mesoamerica, and it's highly endangered in the rest of Mesoamerica. So we believe that many of those birds are coming illegally from Belize, being posed in their nest in Belize, and just a small part in the border of Guatemala and Honduras. And these birds are really valuable in the illegal market of birds because of their ability to mimic human words. Also, we have the yellow-naped parrot. Kernel parts of mostly in the Pacific area of Mexico to Costa Rica. In the 80s, we have a history of being Guatemala exported more than 1,200 animals a year in the 1980s. Then Costa Rica put it in Appendix 2 in CITES, and the legal export stopped. But the population in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras and Nicaragua lowered so much that we approximate that we have like 400 individuals between the three countries. So it's a species that's going to extinction because all the nests are being poached and all the animals are being sold illegal. There's a small population living in the Caribbean of Honduras and Nicaragua, the yellow nape. And these birds are being poached by Asian people, mostly Taiwanese, and they're collecting the eggs. They are not only collecting the chicks, but they are now collecting the eggs and artificially incubating those eggs. And they are exporting the birds, like 90-day-old birds that they reproduce. They just hatch in incubators. It's very sad that our population of scarlet macaws, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras, we share a population, we share the traffickers. There are Guatemalans entering the Chiquibul area to bring the chicks to Guatemala. We have information that there are poachers coming from Guatemala, and they take like a week walking to Belize. So they take the chicks off the nest, very small chicks, and they have the ability to keep them alive and feed them during that week coming back to Guatemala. So they have specialized in keeping the animals alive during the transport, and they find the nest. They don't have marks on it. They just find the nest where the macaws are breeding. They are also targeting the nest in southern Mexico, in the Montañas Azules Park, and La Candona, and Laguna del Tigre National Park. So there's something we have been working together in the past, and we need to be working in the future to stop the illegal trade in macaws, not only in the nest, but in the transit area. We're trying to do it in Guatemala. We're trying to stop the poachers that are coming to Belize and the poachers that are poaching our own birds. There's some information that we got from recent years. There are birds being brought from the Caribbean of Mesoamerica. We know for sure Honduras, the Bay Islands of Honduras are exporting birds to Jamaica, and they are exchanging quincunx and illegal birds in Jamaica for money and other things that they're bringing from Jamaica. So we don't have information from Belize yet, but maybe that's something that you can do to find out if this maybe are fishermen that because they are bringing quincunx and lobster, but they're also bringing birds and taking them to Jamaica. Then Jamaica is exporting these birds to Asia, mostly Singapore, illegally. Everything is being done illegally. This is the movement of the birds that we are telling. Also Mexico. There's a different story with Mexico. Mexico, the southern part of the Yucatan Peninsula, in the park of Balancún, Calakmul, there's something that has been happening for the past 4 years. And when the rosewood Dalbergia genus entered the Appendix 2 in CITES, the market around the world closed to the Dalbergia species, but they asking for new species of rosewood that not only comprehend Dalbergia, but also the Platinicium. We call it Granadillo or Hormigo. We make the marimba in Guatemala with that species. The poachers started cutting the Platinicium species of Calakmul and Balancún, the boundary reserves in southern Peninsula, and they depleted the reserves of Platinicium. So they started entering the national parks of Guatemala to take this timber out and export it through Campeche to the US and to China. We start patrolling the area, and for the last 22 months, we have not had any event of poaching there, but we know that the species also distributes in Belize. So that's something that you should be aware of, that there are highly organized syndicates of Mexicans and Asians looking for these species of timber in our protected area. This is the route. Okay, let's talk about the routes on Honduras. There are organized traffickers that are bringing animals from Honduras and Nicaragua through Honduras, through Guatemala to Mexico. Mexico is a big market for primates, for spider monkeys, howler monkeys, and capuchin monkeys. We, Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico don't have capuchin monkeys, but they are distributed in Honduras and Nicaragua. And we have seen in Chiapas, Mexico, capuchin monkeys along with spider monkeys, black and spider monkeys. Also, we have seen sloths in the northern part of the Yucatan Peninsula. Sloths that they only distribute maybe mid-Honduras. So how sloths are getting to the northern part of the Yucatan Peninsula? Through our border. They are using our countries to traffic. Well, you can say it's Honduras wildlife, it's Nicaragua wildlife, it's Guatemala wildlife. Why we should do something. We strongly believe that these traffickers are using not only the route to transport the animals, but also to get other animals in the route and to complete the journey, complete the trip with a lot of animals that they can get in our country. So we have a problem. We have Mexican people, Guatemalan people, and Honduran people involved in this trafficking, and they are using our borders to take these animals, not only from Honduras, Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize to Mexico. The Bay Islands that we have already talked about, and they are linked with Queen Conch fisheries, and they are taking these animals to Jamaica, and they're also doing it between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. We have information of animals that are being thrown to the ocean because they got maybe enforcement officers around. So they throw a lot of birds in Trinidad and Tobago that are being from Venezuela. These are another group of animals that are being targeted by poachers. A couple of years ago, in 2020 and 2021, 2 shipments of 15,000 freshwater turtles, small turtles, like mud turtles and Rhinoclamis species of turtles, were found in the airport of Mexico and being exported to China. You could say that's not our problem. Yes, it is our problem. There are endemic species of El Salvador, endemic species of Honduras, and endemic species of the Selva Maya in Belize and Guatemala. So they are taking our freshwater turtles and they are exporting them in large numbers from airports in Mexico. This is a picture of animals that were brought back from the US from a trafficker exporting them from Guatemala. This photo from the rescue center in Guatemala. This is the news in Mexico. You can find it. There were 2 seizures of 15,000 turtles that were being exported in the airport, just like that, to China. Now, this is an emerging problem that we should be looking around. Mexico is, we just published a report last week in Plus One magazine about the legal trade online of jaguar parts. And we found out that Mexico is the hotspot of illegal jaguar trade, mostly for art crafts and for handcrafts and for tourism. They are maybe not exporting large quantities as Bolivia did in many years ago, but they are depleting their population of jaguars, and they will target our population. They will contact the people living around jaguars in northern Guatemala and northern Belize to get this teeth. They want to export it. They want to use it in Mexico. So we have to be aware. Maybe it's not Guatemalans or Belizeans that are going to be involved in the trafficking of these jaguar parts, but there are going to be Mexicans coming from these jaguars. And this is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or maybe the next year, but it's already happening in Mexico. And they are exporting, they're commercializing in Mexico large amounts of jaguar parts. And they're killing a lot of jaguars just for this industry. We still have rosewood, not only Dalbergia species, but other species that we should be looking around. And just to end with the trafficking route, I want to show you that this map from C4Ads shows Mesoamerica as one of the origin of endangered species for wildlife trafficking. This is an animation where you can see El Salvador be exporting Yucatan Peninsula to Cuba. That's interesting because they already have this information, but that doesn't imply that Honduras and Belize cannot be exporting animals from their shores to the Caribbean islands. And what's the strategy that we propose? Well, stop the killing, stop the poaching, stop the trafficking, and stop the demand. These are three very different approaches and strategies. How do we stop the killing? Well, or stop the poaching with the community. That's a very significant part of what we are doing, trying to convince the communities that they have to be the first line of defense against poaching. So a poacher that wants to take a macaw or wants to take a jaguar has to go through these communities to take them. And we are trying to these communities not to get involved in this poaching. So we have some communities in Guatemala that have been already involved with the conservation agreements, and they are not poaching anymore, and they're not letting poachers come through their community. How do we stop trafficking? Well, supporting the authorities as you to come and do patrols, to come to the places that we know that trafficking is occurring. So the presence of police, the presence of the forest department, or the presence of CITES authorities in the areas where the poaching is occurring deters the poachers to be there. The poachers don't want to be caught, they don't want to be, they have a process open. So that's a way to stop the trafficking. And how we stop the demand? Well, in the past, we did this beautiful bumper stickers and posters that we placed everywhere. And for many years, we have been doing this, but we now know that to stop the demand, we have to do a behavior change project. We have to change the behavior of the poachers. We have to change the behavior of the buyer. Our own people is the one that are buying the animals. And maybe they don't really know what the harm they are doing. And sometimes the poachers don't even know the harm that they are doing. And sometimes they are just fulfilling the basic necessity. So we have to be aware of this and plan and design a campaign or a project to stop the demand and to change the behavior of the people that are being involved in wildlife. So that's just a quick overview of what's happening in Mesoamerica. There's a lot of other things happening in Mesoamerica. I hope to visit you soon in Belize, and maybe we can talk with more time about other things that are happening and we have to deal. Thank you very much.